Hi folks, G3 here and welcome to another instalment of my journey to go green. Today's episode is another one of our regular gardening catch-ups. So this is just what I've been working on in the garden over the last week or so, just to give you a little bit of inspiration perhaps, so you can see what I've been doing, might give you a bit of encouragement to go out and do some bits and pieces yourself. Plus equally, you can leave your comments down below and let me know how you've been doing things, whether you've done things differently to me, what else you've been up to at the moment, and perhaps give me some inspiration. So let's get on with what we're doing this week. First up, a very quick task. I've got my rhubarb here, and what we can see is that already it's starting to bolt and go to flower. I've got a lot of flowers coming on here. Now, I don't want it to be putting the energy into flowering. I want it to put the energy into making these lovely shoots and leaves so that I can eat the shoots. Not the leaves, because they're poisonous. They need to be cut off. Just the stems is what we're going to be eating. But the flowers are not needed, so I'm going to be cutting those off. So that's what we're getting on with now. Right, so I've got my secateurs, and all I'm going to be doing is going down to a point above a leaf and just cutting that off. Just simply snipping it off, and that's going in the bucket and it will go on the compost bin. It really looks like it's keen to flower. There's a lot coming off. There we go, we've got a few. I think there's about 10 there. So that's all I need to do for the time being, just snip those off, and I'll keep an eye because there's going to be some more coming probably, but I really want to encourage it to put all its growth into the stems and leaves so that it produces some lovely rhubarb for us, and we can have some nice crumble, and also I use it on my cereal once I've stewed it as well. It's a relatively straightforward thing to grow, and once we've planted it in here, it kind of looks after itself really. Yeah, it's a really good cropper. We get a lot off it, and this plant actually came from an allotment I used to have before moving here. When we were moving, I dug the rhubarb up, brought it with me and planted it in here, and it's been fine ever since. So good. One of my tasks this week is repotting squash that I've been growing. So I've planted these in some of the deep pots. Let's have a look here. These are Blue Hubbard Squash, and I planted 2 in each pot just to hope that they came through okay. And we can see here an example where one hasn't grown quite as well as the other. That's why we've done it. There's a little one, but the big one will be the one that we'll be using. So these are Blue Hubbard, and then up this end I've got some courgettes, but the Blue Hubbard are definitely in need of being transferred across. They're quite a good size, and what I'm going to be doing is popping them into this bed here. It's going to be the same as last year, where I'll plant them around the outside of the raised bed, and I include a link up here to a video where I grew sweet corn in the middle and then squash around the outside the Blue Hubbard, so you can see how that went. It was quite successful, so I'm going to do that again this time. I don't have the sweet corn quite ready to put in yet, but I can put the squash around the outside and train them up against the fencing, and I'm sure they'll start growing nicely. The weather's getting quite sunny, so I think they'll grow nicely. Right, let's get those planted in. We can see with these we've got really good root growth. These have worked really well, these nice deep pots. That's really good. I've used a my dibber just to push them out from below, just because I know they're not all ready yet, so I want to make sure that the others can stay in here, but I'm just getting out the ones that are suitable. But those roots, they're lovely. There we go, I've got 10 in. Those are the ones that were the most advanced at the moment. What we can see here is I've still got a few that are growing. There's definitely some, these are definitely Blue Hubbard. I'm not sure about this row because the label had moved. They might be Blue Hubbard as well, but they're quite similar to the courgette, so I need to let them grow a little bit so I can work out what they are. But they all still need a little bit more development anyhow. It's the ones that I've got in the bed at the moment that are the most advanced and can cope. I will be using some of this natural slug killer. It's approved by the organic farmers and growers. I will use some of this because otherwise the slugs and snails will be out in force and these won't last very long at all. So I'll put some of these pellets around once I've gone and watered these plants in. It's not ideal watering at this time of day. We're just about 1:45. It's not the best time of day to do it because there'll be a bit of evaporation from the surface, but as I've just put them in, it was the opportunity I had to put the plants in, so that's why I've done it now, and I'll give them a little bit of a water. One of the reasons for giving it a good long soaking is, as well as making the soil moist around it so the plant's got access to the water, it should also ensure that there is a good connection, a good film of water between the roots and the water in the soil. And that way the uptake of water should be at its best for the plants, whereas otherwise if you don't give it a really good soak, there's a chance maybe that some of the roots aren't in water pockets and aren't able to sort of take up the water quite as effectively, so that's part of the reason behind it. Here we go, I've got to put some of the slug pellets around the base of each of these plants to protect them. Now, as I said, these are they're ferric phosphate, iron phosphate, and so it's a naturally occurring thing, and that gets broken down in the soil by microbes once it enters the soil. But for slugs, if they're ingesting those, then it'll be too much for them, and they will perish. So there we go. That's the start of the squash going around the edge, and these are all Blue Hubbard squash. I do have butternut squash as well, but these are Blue Hubbard that are starting off. So that's another good jobbed. Now, you remember a couple of weeks back I took you through getting the seeds ready for my hydroponic set. I'll include a link up here to the video that included that so you can see it. That was a couple of weeks back and they've grown nicely, so I've gone and transplanted them into their final position. So what we've got here are a couple of plugs, or in this instance one plug is in the middle of the growing pot with some inert material around it, and that is then resting in water. So the way that it's going to work is that the roots will be taking up the nutrients from the water, because I'll be adding in some fertilizer within the water itself, and that's how the plants get their nutrients. They don't get it from the growing media at all. This is an inert material that it's in. So I've gone and transplanted all of those across. Now, the red vein sorrel didn't grow, and also the lemon basil, that didn't grow either. So we've got the remaining bits and pieces that are in here. So we've got watercress at the front, and then we've got other leafy greens further back, rocket and some Chinese leaves and the like. So they are now planted. They're benefiting from the light above and the nutrients in the water. I've got a little measure here at the front that tells me the water level, so I know when to update that and fill it up with some additional nutrients in there. But now this is just going to grow, and we will have some additional salad crops that we can cut and add to our meals on an ongoing basis. So that was a relatively straightforward task to do. And yeah, looking forward to these growing and having those salad crops. So there you go, folks. That's what I've been up to over the last week or so in my garden. I hope you found it useful. If you did, then please click the like button down below. And remember, leave your comments as well. Let me know what you've been up to, whether you're doing things differently to me. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, then why not subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you get notified when I load up a new video. Well, thanks for watching, folks. Until next time, bye.